News Talk 610 AM and 102.1 FM. KVNU.
KVNU News Time is 4:03. I'm Bill Walter with this news update brought to you by U&I Furniture. The Cash Children's Justice Center will be hosting the Policy Project and Prevent Child Abuse Utah for a parent and community education night in Cache County. The presentation will be at the Riverwoods Conference Center tomorrow evening at 7 p.m. Stephanie Kendrick from the Children's Justice Center said the goal of the event is to educate citizens about child sexual abuse and ways to prevent it.
So this will provide an opportunity for parents, community members, and local leaders to learn more about the Safe Child Project, and they'll be able to participate in trainings that will be led by experts on abuse prevention. And also, they'll be able to create an actionable plan to prevent child sex abuse within their families and their communities.
The Safe Child Project seeks to strengthen existing Utah code and secure funding through a public-private partnership with the Utah legislature to ensure that all K-6 students have the opportunity to receive sexual abuse prevention education. Scott Bodley has worked with child victims for years, first as an investigator with the Logan City Police Department and later as the director of the CJC. He said in most cases, the victims that he has worked with knew their abusers.
There's a level of trust that is used by predatory individuals. They rely on it, they depend on it to be able to get close to the child and to the child's primary caretakers to be able to manipulate the situation so that they can abuse the child and have access to the child. And that continues even through the media, through the game systems, things like that. That's where it starts. They're trying to gain the child's trust.
Child sexual abuse is a more significant problem than many realize. According to the Policy Project, 1 in 7 Utah children experiences sexual abuse before the age of 18, with children ages 7 to 13 being the most vulnerable. KVNU News Time is 4:05. KVNU weather for tonight, rain showers in the forecast, overnight low in the low 30s, and then tomorrow, 50% chance of rain, high in the mid-40s, around 46. Rain Tuesday night, rain likely early Wednesday, and then rain and snow in the forecast, high temperature in the upper 30s. That's where we've been today. 37 has been our high. It's 35 right now at KVNU. KVNU weather brought to you by the Advocates. You can chat online at utahadvocates.com or 801-355-5550 if you are not at fault. If you've been injured in a car, trucking, or slip and fall accident, get in touch with the Advocates.
Oh, everybody needs a favorite chair to sit on. U&I Furniture has a big selection and sells so many chairs. Chairs for the living room, chairs to recline in, chairs for the dining room, lift chairs, occasional chairs, dining chairs, all kinds of chairs. And they even picked up more chairs with their last Furniture Market truckload, along with bedroom and dining sets, office furniture, TV consoles, even some with built-in fireplaces. So many good deals right now at U&I Furniture, and your tax return is coming soon. Use it on new furniture at the place where there's always a better buy. U&I Furniture, downtown Logan.
KVNU News Time is 4:06. No injuries were reported after a car was shot in a road rage incident on Legacy Parkway in Woods Cross. Authorities responded to southbound lanes near 500 South on Saturday night. They said 2 vehicles were involved in the incident, which included the victim vehicle being shot. Southbound lanes were closed in the area while troopers were at the scene investigating and collecting evidence. Officials said the suspect fled the scene and they were working to obtain a description of the suspect vehicle. And 2 people were hospitalized in critical condition after allegedly crashing into the back of a Utah Highway Patrol trooper's car pulled over on I-15. Officials said the trooper was on the shoulder of the road near mile marker 215 in Juab County Saturday afternoon at about 12:45. He was sitting inside his vehicle working on a separate crash when a car traveling northbound reportedly lost control and slid into the back of the trooper's vehicle. According to a press release, there were 4 occupants in the car that crashed, and all were transported to the hospital in various conditions. The driver and the front passenger were in critical condition, and the UHP trooper was evaluated at the hospital and released. KVNU News Time is 4:08. For more details on these and other stories, visit CashValleyDaily.com.
For the people, weekday afternoons from 4 till 6 on News Talk KVNU, 610 AM and 102.1 FM.
When it comes to home care, it's important to know you have a choice. If you or a loved one is in need of hospice or home health services, remember that Primrose Home Care and Hospice believes in treating the patient as well as the problem. We work directly with you and your doctor to create a health plan that's catered to your needs. Our team is devoted to providing options in the freedom and safety of your own home. Visit us at primrosecare.com or call to schedule a free consultation. Primrose Home Care and Hospice, your local hospice and home health provider since 2006.
Imagine driving home, a peaceful evening shattered by a chunk of ice that falls off from another vehicle, leaving your windshield shattered and your arm broken. That's what happened to my neighbor Jim. Insurance and the other driver were no support. It's a tough situation, but I told him to reach out to the advocates. They've got your back. No upfront costs to find out if you have a case. If you've been hurt in an accident that's not your fault, don't hesitate. Chat with the advocates at utahodvocates.com or call 801-355-5550. Now with offices in Logan.
Nothing feels better. Nothing is more relaxing than a massage. A deep tissue or a relaxing Swedish massage from Academy Massage at the Sports Academy. Buy your sweetie a massage and get a 10% discount through Valentine's Day. Relax, rejuvenate, and revitalize yourself with a massage for both of you. 10% off all massages through Valentine's Day at the Sports Academy. This offer valid for members and non-members. The Sports Academy. Your club, your results, your life.
The Policy Project is making an important stop in Cache County on Tuesday, February 6th at 7 o'clock at the Riverwoods Conference Center on a journey to raise awareness and statewide support for the Safe Child Project. This event provides an opportunity for parents, community members, and local leaders to participate in trainings led by experts on abuse prevention. To register, search the Safe Child Project, Cache County, scroll down and click on the Register Here button. Please join us Tuesday, February 6th at 7 o'clock at the Riverwoods Conference Center for the Safe Child Project.
For the people.
We are waiting with bated breath for news from the Cache Republican Party meeting an executive committee tonight.
With Jason Williams.
And I'm really excited about this next segment. We have two guests here in studio. We're going to talk about something that we've talked about many times here on the show, but from a bit of a different angle.
Weekday afternoons from 4 till 6 on News Talk KVNU, 610 AM and 102 FM.
Welcome to KVNU's For the People. A rainy and dreary but strangely spring-like Monday, February 5th. I'm Jason Williams. Bill Walter here in the studio as well. A lot going on around us in the hallways and in our studio today, so if you hear random noises...
Yeah, I'm wiping the sawdust out of my scalp here.
If Bill and I sound distracted, it's, power tools near us, things like that we're ducking and dodging, but it is...
At least it's not that varnish and that paint smell that
that was rough. That was rough.
Making us kind of goofy.
A few months ago, a lot of painting going on in here and carpet replacing with glue and things like that, and not just here in the studios, but in the hallways and more. And
in the trim.
Bill and I have been lucky because they've put us last. Or maybe that's a bad sign.
I don't know.
Maybe they've put our studio last because our studio...
We'll have to wait and see if it's a blessing or a curse.
What I've been told is our studio is going to be the most difficult. So they wanted to do some of the easier studios first.
I was just told it was... Oh, okay. So you heard different. I was told it's because the most difficult people work in this studio.
Well, that might be it too.
Yeah, so
we can be a bit troublemaker.
little cantankerous at times.
It is, just it's fun to see this all coming together, but man, so much going on. And I'm watching, so across the hall here, they've got LED lights and one of the largest cement drills I've ever seen. Actually looks like they're packing up for the day. So, but I don't know what was going on over there. The Cool studio across the hall, still broadcasting right now, but that studio is empty. There's actually nothing in that studio right now. They're running Cool from a temporary studio down the hall. And, yeah, it's just it's a very unique thing for a radio station to renovate because you can't shut down. You don't have the option. Most businesses, the Maverick in Millville right now, closed for 3 weeks to completely renovate the interior of the building.
Was that the one in Wellsville or the one in Nibley?
In Millville.
Oh, in Millville.
Yeah, in Millville.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
or Nibley.
Technically
I think
it's
the address is Millville, but most people think of it as Nibley.
Well, it's on the east side, so I guess that's technically Millville.
But we can't close like that. So it presents some challenges, to say the least. So, yeah, be forgiving if you hear noises, if you even sometimes have us not here or not broadcasting here or there. As this new equipment goes in, as the building is renovated, it's going to be worth it. But it's like I say, a really unique situation to try and, in a scenario where you can't shut down, you always have to be live to rebuild studios at the same time. So, but I have to say, I'm really impressed on how they've gone about it. I expected more problems than they've actually had. So. Over the weekend, the Cache County Republican Party hosted their Lincoln dinner, and part of that Lincoln dinner was, in the early hours of the event, a straw poll. It looks like about under 300 people, something voted in the straw poll, and it broke down this way. Brad Wilson with 90 votes at 42% of the vote. John Curtis... This is for the Senate race only. John Curtis with 74 votes, falling just short of Brad Wilson there, 34% of the vote. And then coming in a far, far distant third place, fourth place, and fifth place, Carolyn Phippen, Mayor Trent Staggs of Riverton, and Brent Hatch, Orrin Hatch's son. So Phippen, 22 votes at 10%. Mayor Trent Staggs, Mayor of Riverton, running for Senate. He's also been running for Senate the longest, so bad news for him here in Cache County. Only 20 votes, 9% of the straw poll vote. And Brent Hatch, who I don't even know what this guy's thinking, to be honest with you, but 9 votes, 4% of the vote. If you want to see it broken down, cashgop.com. This was only a straw poll. It doesn't really mean anything other than that's the sentiment of the people who showed up and voted at the Lincoln Day dinner over the weekend. Cache GOP also has some video and photos up if you'd like to see that as well. So been kind of a big event for them, an annual event, one of their biggest fundraising events. And this year we had a chance to speak with the guest speaker last week. But also what made this unique is we have so many candidates here in Cache Valley and statewide candidates, and everyone came. It was just... yeah, packed. I talked to some folks who attended the free, no-ticket needed candidate event from 4 to 6:45 Saturday, and they said it was just packed. It was just people everywhere, everyone trying to get some time with the candidates to ask them questions, and the candidates trying to answer questions left and right for more than 2 hours. And then they shut it down and transitioned to the ticketed event. There at the Taggart Student Center, moved into the ballroom where tickets were required to get in and sit down and have dinner and hear from the speakers. I did hear, though, Congressman Rob Bishop was the introducing speaker for the guest speaker, Tad McAllister, who was on our show last week. I heard he didn't make any trouble. He kept his comments nice, and I'm sure there were at least a couple of sarcastic jokes because it's Rob Bishop we're talking about, but... coming up on the show today, Tami Pyfer is joining us. She has actually been on campus today with Governor Cox, and we begged and begged and begged to try and get Governor Cox to join here in the studio before they headed back to Salt Lake after the event today. Unfortunately, It looks like the schedule will not allow that, but the Cox team has promised they'll make some time for us soon in the future. Of course they will. He's running for re-election. So they'll be begging me by the time we get closer to April. But the event today called Change the Game, an Aggie approach to transforming conflict into conversation. Governor Cox was a part of this. Tami Pyfer was a part of this, representing the Dignity Index Group and more. Their President Elizabeth Cantwell moderated the discussion. Irshad Manji and Governor Spencer Cox were part of the panel. And then there was a keynote as well called Change the Game. Tami Pyfer will be with us. That keynote was presented by Irshad Manji, New York Times bestselling author and founder of something called the Moral Courage Project. We'll talk about her book, by the way, is called Don't Label Me. It's an interesting read. We'll talk about this when Tami joins us in a bit. But before that, the Policy Project, something new you may not have heard about here in Cache Valley. Utah nonprofits are visiting Cache County with a very important mission. The mission is to end child sexual abuse via community education and policy advocacy. How this all works and what you can do here in Cache Valley to be a part of it right after this.
With so much financial uncertainty, are you wondering if your retirement savings will last? The market's ups and downs can keep you guessing, especially if you're approaching retirement or considering it. Your Edward Jones financial advisor can help. If you have more questions than answers about what's next, they can work with you to help ensure you're prepared for the future. After all, retirement isn't the end of the road, it's a new beginning. Call one of the 7 branch locations in Cache Valley or go to edwardjones.com. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
The Cache Valley Media Group Home and Garden Show presented by Anderson Seed and Garden is March 22nd and 23rd. As a business owner, you can visit with, invite, and explain to thousands of potential customers how your business can help. How else are you going to come in contact with several thousand people in only 2 days? The Cache Valley Media Group Home and Garden Show at the Eccles Ice and Events Center. Google Cache Valley Home and Garden Show or call 752-1390 for details.
Welcome back to KVNU's For the People. It's called the Safe Child Project, part of the overall policy project, and they're coming to Cache Valley on, tomorrow at the Riverwoods Conference Center. A chance for you to get out and learn more about preventing child sexual abuse and being a part of a community education project the Safe Child Project is launching. With the details, here's Will.
Well, Jason and Bill, there's been a lot of talk at the Utah legislature so far this year about protecting children, and that's one of the things that we want to talk about this afternoon as we have invited a number of special guests into the KVNU studio to discuss an event that's going to be coming up in February. It's called the Safe Child Project. And before we talk a little bit about the event, I'd just like to welcome some of those who are here in our studio today that their main focus is working with children. And I think if it's okay, we'll just start and we'll go around the room. We have seated directly across from me, Scott Bodley from the Children's Justice Center. And you were mentioning earlier, this is coming up on your year anniversary. Is that right?
It's getting close. Yeah, March.
Okay. But before that, I mean, you've had a long history of working with kids, especially in your law enforcement career.
Yeah, I was a crimes against persons investigator for Logan City for a number of years. Was in that position when I retired in 2015. So being involved in the child abuse investigation world is not new to me.
Yeah, for years and years. And now seated right next to him, we have Stephanie from the Children's Justice Center. And Stephanie, I know you have really been the one to help organize this event that's coming up. Is that right?
Yes, we're really excited. So the board of the Cache Children's Justice Center is sponsoring this event, the Safe Child Project. The goal of the Safe Child Project is to end sexual abuse in Utah through what they're trying to do is expand child sexual abuse prevention education for K through 6 students in all of Utah. This event, we're super excited about it. So this will provide an opportunity for parents, community members, and local leaders to learn more about the Safe Child Project, and they'll be able to participate in trainings that will be led by experts on abuse prevention, and also they'll be able to create an actionable plan to prevent child sex abuse within their families and their communities.
All right. And now seated right next to you, Stephanie, we have one of the newest members of the team, but you've been in the attorney's office for a long time, interim Cache County Attorney Taylor Sorensen. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
This, I'm sure you've had to jump in with both feet now, and being involved with the criminal investigations that I know a lot of your deputy attorneys are involved in. You're seeing this on a daily basis now, the abuse of children in our community.
Yeah, unfortunately, Cache County has changed a lot in the past couple of decades, and whereas before maybe it wasn't such a problem, now we actually have a special victims unit. We have attorneys who are solely dedicated to prosecuting this type of crime, and they've got a heavy workload. So per capita, Logan, Cache County, it's no different than any other city. Salt Lake, LA, Chicago, we have just the same problems per capita. And so we're anxious to try and tamp that down any way we can, because by the time it comes to us, it's already happened. And so we're just trying to prevent it.
Yeah, and one of the things that your predecessors did in an effort to try to help in combating abuse of children is putting together the victims advocates within the Cache County Attorney's Office, and that's also who is joining us in the studio, Terrell Warner, who I don't know of anyone who has been more involved in protecting children than you and some of your staff. I see you in the courtroom, I see you out at accidents, and my heart goes out to the work that you guys do, because it is never easy, I'm sure.
It is not, and I appreciate those kind words that you've said, because I've been here for almost 28 years, and I have seen a lot and worked with a lot of people over the years, and my heart breaks every day for all these victims that we're dealing with, and our caseloads have skyrocketed.
And Taylor, you bring up a good point, in that I think a lot of us still are under this idea that, somehow the Wellsvilles and the Bear River Mountains somehow protect us from what's going on in the outside world. But the reality is the internet now is able to travel through those mountains a lot faster than any criminal can.
You're exactly right. And, geographical barriers in the past may have worked, but now it's not even just on the kitchen table in the computer room or something. I'm dating myself by saying that I had a computer room growing up, but now it's in your child's pocket when you give them a phone. It's on their wrist when you give them a smartphone. It's on their game system. People chat up kids on Xbox, on PlayStation. So, the ways that they can be exposed to people who are trying to entice them into these dangerous situations, it's more than you would think.
And we'll date some of us a little bit, because Detective Bodley, for example, was a police officer at a time as I was finishing up my schooling. And I remember when I was in elementary school, we'd have stranger danger training. Right. And we'd have the old stranger movies that would have these guys in white vans with no windows asking kids for candy. And I grew up, never talked to a stranger. And yet now we have online, like you mentioned, Taylor, where kids on the most harmless games, a Mario Kart, for example, a Super Mario Brothers race car game. There are ways for these perpetrators to be able to start interacting with our children right through those harmless games.
Right. And, and something that's not talked about enough, I think, is, aside from these stranger predators, is that most cases involve perpetrators who are known and trusted by the child. It's above 90%. And that's, something that is startling. That's startling to confront, is that people are abused by the people who are most close to them. And so, sometimes you think, well, I'm sending my kid over to my aunt and uncle's house or their cousin's house, and you think, oh, that's a safe place. But in reality, everybody needs to have this talk with their child. Everybody needs to try and inculcate these lessons, these tools to keep them safe.
One of the things that I know is going to be talked about at the Safe Child Project is sleepovers. And this is something my kids, they'll laugh every time because I grew up in a day and age where, we'd go over and stay over at my friend's house and have sleepovers out on the trampoline or out in the family room and watch television, Friday night videos all night. Those days are gone, right, Scott? I mean, you see this with the kids that you're interviewing at the Children's Justice Center, and sleepovers is one of the number one things where these kind of abuse cases start.
They do. It's interesting that you picked that particular subject because as my own kids were growing up, and they're adults now, but as they were growing up, we didn't do sleepovers. And I remember having some very heated conversations with one of my kids because she hated my job because we didn't do sleepovers.
It tainted your decision making, biased you.
It informed my decision making, but in her youth and inexperience at the time, she didn't see it that way. She does now, but I mean, Taylor's right. All those years spent talking about stranger danger, it happens, but by and large, the majority of child victims that I ever worked with, they knew their abuser. They knew them well. There's a level of trust that is used by predatory individuals. They rely on it, they depend on it to be able to get close to the child and to the child's primary caretakers, to be able to manipulate the situation so that they can abuse the child and have access to the child. And that continues even through the media, through the game systems, things like that. That's where it starts. They're trying to gain the child's trust so that the child will do things that they want. Didn't exist when I started my career, but it's very pervasive now.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And you bring up a good point, Scott, and maybe this is a chance, Stephanie, if you can talk a little bit about this project, because if someone's listening to this right now and they say, well, my kids have all grown, okay, or my kids are a lot older now, but this is something that as a community we all need to be aware of, because whether you're talking about the kids in your neighborhood or maybe it's kids that you work with in a church responsibility or in a school volunteer responsibility, we all need to be more actively aware of abuse that could be going on around us, I think.
Oh, I agree. So statistics show that 1 in 7 Utah children have experienced sexual abuse before the age of 18. But it is a community effort for all of us to, even if we don't have young children at home, we may have grandchildren, we have nieces, we have nephews, we have neighbor children that we care about. That's the beautiful thing about Cache Valley is we do love our children, we do care about our children, but now is the time to step up and do something about it. We can't sit back and not talk about it. It's probably one of the hardest things to talk about is child sexual abuse. I was a victim of child sex abuse. It's been really hard for me to talk about it. It always will be really hard, but I've realized if we don't talk about it, then we won't end it. So we all have to do this together. It takes every single one of us to actively get involved and learn how to teach our kids to prevent it, and we need to learn how to prevent it. And
thankfully, we are finding now a lot more resources available than we had years ago. 20, 30 years ago, we didn't have the Children's Justice Center. We didn't have the victim advocates through the Cache County Attorney's Office. There wasn't the special victim prosecutors in the attorney's office. And in fact, that's only just been within the last several years. That's right. Those special prosecutors, Taylor, were added to your office. And so there are a lot more resources now. But it sounds as though, Stephanie, and if you can kind of give us a little bit of a background behind what this event is going to be like coming up in February, because this is going to be about more prevention than anything and what to be aware of and to watch out for. Is that right?
Yes, so there will be training how you can reduce the risk of child sex abuse. It will be led by experts from SAPREA out of Salt Lake City. You'll be able to learn the top 5 ways to reduce the risk of child sexual abuse for kids that are in your life. And again, we're talking about children, grandchildren, nieces, nephews, neighbors. And we talked about earlier, we're not just talking about stranger danger. It's so important to keep saying that again, that we're talking about the person down the street.
Thank you, Emily and Will. And again, that event at the Riverwoods Conference Center is tomorrow night, February 6th, 7 p.m. Community members, legislators, partner organizations, students, families, everyone is invited. You can reach out to them more via their website, thepolicyproject.org. And you can also register for the event at givebutter.com/Cache County to be a part of this community presence. So thank you to Will and to Emily and to everyone involved with the Safe Child Project. Check it out at Riverwoods Conference Center tomorrow night. On the other side, Tami Pyfer with us here in the studio. She's been at an event on USU's campus today with a well-known author, Governor Spencer Cox, and more, talking about dignity and issue resolution and all of the things we're not very good at. Tami Pyfer joins us right after this look at the news with KVNU's Bill Walter.
Thank you, Jason. KVNU News Time is 4:34, and the news is brought to you by Mount Logan Laundry. A man was hospitalized after a snowmobile accident that happened in Wasatch County. Search teams responded to the scene near Clyde Creek at about 1 o'clock Saturday afternoon. Crews said they were in the Strawberry Valley area training roughly 1 mile away when they were notified of the injured snowmobiler. They found the 61-year-old snowmobiler with injuries before an ambulance transported him to a hospital. Additional information, including the man's condition, was not immediately provided. Jadon Ledee had 16 points, 9 rebounds to lead San Diego State to an 81-67 win against Great Osibor and the 17th-ranked Utah State Aggies to pull the Aztecs within one game of the Mountain West Conference leader. Ledee scored 9 of his points in the second half of the showdown between the top two scorers and rebounders in the league. Osibor had 17 points, 7 rebounds. The Aztecs beat the Aggies for the 5th straight time. The streak includes a win in the conference tournament championship game. With the loss, Utah State does drop a few notches, but they are still in the AP Top 25 at 22nd and 23rd between the two polls, the AP poll and the coaches poll. Of course, Utah State, not a lot of time to think about this past weekend's game as they get ready for Nevada in the Spectrum tomorrow night. We'll have that for you on KVNU, starting with Game Day with Al Lewis at 6 o'clock. And Lauri Markkanen scored 21 points to lead the Utah Jazz to a 123-108 victory over the Milwaukee Bucks. Colin Sexton scored 19 points to help the Jazz snap a 3-game losing streak. KVNU News Time is 4:36.
The colder weather is here. Are your quilts and blankets looking dingy? Is your winter coat or jacket dirty enough to stand in the corner just by itself? Well, go to Mount Logan Laundry. It'll take no time at all to freshen up everything. They have the 55 and 80-pound washers, the biggest around, and great big dryers, too, and it costs a whole lot less than dry cleaning. Free Wi-Fi and drop-off service. Mount Logan Laundry really is the cleanest spot in town on the corner of 5th East, 9th North and Logan, or in Brigham at 1st East, 7th South. Mount Logan Laundry.
ABC News, I'm Chuck Severson. At least 3 people have died in the big California storm, all involving trees and all in Northern California. The storm expected to keep pounding the state into tomorrow. Republicans who criticize the new border security bill just released, negotiated by both Republicans and Democrats in the Senate, are hypocrites after complaining about border security, says President Biden after an event in Las Vegas.
We don't have enough agents. We don't have enough folks. We don't have enough judges. We don't have enough folks there. We need help. Why won't they give me the help all this time?
Former President Trump says getting a border bill would just be a gift to Mr. Biden's reelection effort. A House committee met to get a measure ready for a vote on impeaching Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas. The resolution is expected to reach the full House floor tomorrow. Not clear, though, if Republicans have enough votes. Total deaths from dozens of wildfires in central Chile are now at least 112. This is ABC News.
KVNU weather for tonight. Good chance of some more rain showers this evening into the overnight hours. The low temperature in the lower 30s, and then a 50% chance of rain. Still mostly cloudy tomorrow, but milder temperatures around 46 for the high. It's been to 37. In fact, it's 37 degrees right now at KBNU. KBNU weather brought to you by the Duct Hunter. The Duct Hunter reminds you, change your furnace filter every 3 months. Your furnace will run more efficiently. To clean your ducts, call them at 770-4813. You can always get more news at CashValleyDaily.com. Let's check Wall Street now with Edward Jones.
This is Senior Branch Office Administrator Monique Benson bringing you the daily financial market report on behalf of financial advisor Daryl Arnell and Edward Jones. Equities kicked off the week on a soft note with the S&P 500 declining 0.3% and the Dow down 275 points. This follows a gain last week that sent the S&P 500 into a record high on a busy week that featured a Fed meeting, an unemployment report, and a slew of earning announcements. In today's markets, the Dow was down 274 points at 13,380. The Nasdaq was down 31 points at 15,598. And the S&P 500 closed down 16 points at 4,943. In the bond market, 10-year Treasury yields are trading at 4.17%, higher by 0.14 percentage points. In stocks of local interest, Home Depot was down $2.09 at $355.14. Lowe's Companies was down $1.48 at $218.01. Nucor was down $1.08 to $182.31. Thermo Fisher was down 20 cents to $551.62, and Northrop Grumman was down $4.30 to $442.28. This is Monique Benson with the Daily Financial Market Report, brought to you on behalf of Edward Jones, member SIPC, and financial advisor Daryl Arnell, serving individual investors with personalized attention and financial advice. If you would like additional information, please contact our office at 435-713-6925. Daily commentary is also located on our website at edwardjones.com.
Hi, this is Congressman Mike Simpson. Idaho is ranked 4th nationally when it comes to gun ownership. The last thing we need is the federal government knocking on our doors to take our guns away. I am proud to have a strong pro-Second Amendment record. I do not support legislation that bans firearms, requires a waiting period to purchase a firearm, or bills that are anti-gun ownership. I will always defend the Second Amendment and Idahoans' way of life.
Paid for by official funds authorized by the House of Representatives.
Welcome back to KVNU's For the People. I'm really excited about this because it's been a while since we've had a chance to talk about it, and we're here entering into another election cycle. And longtime listeners of the show have heard me talk about the Dignity Index before and why this appeals to me as opposed to... I'm speaking as someone who is very cynical when someone says, oh, we should all be more civil. Because oftentimes you hear that when someone just wants to end a discussion or a debate because they're losing. Or they can't back up what they were arguing. And this is different. The Dignity Index is actually, gross oversimplification here, it's a scoring system. Looking at ways that we talk to each other, not just in politics, but in business, in our personal lives, and more, that can be really harmful. Shut down discussion, even make people feel dismissed and not cared about. And really unproductive things are easy to avoid. So to throw this out there before we get started, dignityindex.us is the website. And please check it out. It will change how you think. It's changed how I've thought about the show, how I've conducted myself on this show. It's amazing. And what I've also learned is that most of our elected leaders fail at this. There's me being undignified right out of the gate.
We all fail sometimes, and we all succeed sometimes, too.
No, actually, to be positive, I've noticed that a lot of our elected leaders here in Utah try. One of them, who I think tries very hard, and I know from knowing people involved with his administration that he's his harshest critic when he fails. But Governor Spencer Cox was there today, part of this event you were a part of as well at Utah State University, with a guest speaker, author of a book called Don't Label Me, and founder of something called the Moral Courage Project. Irshad Manji was speaking today as the guest speaker. Governor Cox was there and joined her in, I guess, recording a podcast for her show. And then you had a chance to be a part of this. And, of course, you have a personal relationship with Governor Cox, having worked with his predecessor, Tami, as the education advisor for Governor Herbert. So how's that for a setup? Tami Pyfer here in the studio with us. You've had a busy day.
I have. And let me clarify, my part was an anxious, eager observer today. I visited for a few minutes afterwards with Irshad Manji and her director of the Moral Courage Project, she lives in Sandy, Utah, the director of the project. And there are people here in Utah that I know that have used this initiative or this approach. And I've been so impressed with it that I had to go today and see it for myself, and then meet afterwards and visit. So it's good to see that live and to get a chance to visit afterwards, and to see friends, former colleagues up at Utah State University as well. And now to be on your show, this is like my day is complete. And I had egg ice cream. It doesn't get any better than this. Does
That's
it?
like checking off the list,
The
right,
whole
of
list.
everything that you need.
Exactly.
It's been really interesting for me to watch the Dignity Index grow, but also to see, these other projects like the Moral Courage Project, Governor Cox's own Disagree Better campaign that he's running through the Republican Governors Association. These all are complementary. This one appeals to me most, the Dignity Index, because it's so realistic. It's not asking for something that. Let me put it this way. One of the challenges I have with Disagree Better, the governor's campaign, with a similar goal, is that it can quickly just become a slogan, and slogans get ignored. And so I'm saying constantly whenever it comes up, you have to apply this. You have to show that disagreeing better is possible in an actual live scenario where you have a disagreement with someone. And the Dignity Index is different. The Dignity Index is saying, look, all this is going to happen around us. Let's learn to understand when we see a loss of dignity or a lack of dignity.
Yeah. Well, and we see it as a really simple tool, and you've experienced this, Jason, that once you go through it and learn a little bit about it, you can't. It's like I can't unsee that.
Stop thinking about it.
I cannot stop thinking about it.
And then people, you catch yourself left and right.
Right. And so the people feel empowered by that. The young people we have visited with, the business executives we visited with last week in New York City, they see it and like this huge light bulb goes off and they go, I see how I can apply this not just to my company culture, but to myself.
Sure.
And in my relationships with my employees. And so when they see that people, we put it this way, people see that they're part of the problem and they see they can be part of the solution, and that's very empowering. And so it's exciting. We've also, so it's just a tool. We think it's a pretty simple tool. It's not easy to live up to the ideals all the time.
It's very difficult.
But we've also been really energized by the different types of organizations and people who contact us and want to apply this. Some of our first takers after the Politico article ran last year were public ed teachers, public school teachers. Higher ed came to us. I've spoken to 3 or 4 county health departments in the state, and I'm speaking to another one, I think, next week. We have business executives. It's just interesting. People will come and say, this resonates with me. I want to bring this to my company culture. I want to bring this. The county health department one surprised me, actually. And I thought, okay, I'm coming. And they are using it as part of their diversity training because they work with so many different people, the people making home visits through the health department. And they're saying, we have to see people with dignity as they are and treat them with dignity. And often they get into situations where, you're talking about things that not everyone agrees with, like vaccinations or things like that. And so they have to have this broad view and be able to see individuals in a different light. And I've been told that this has been really helpful for them. So
that is so interesting. I would have never thought to apply this to a county health department level, but now that makes sense.
Well, and the Utah League of Cities and Towns has adopted this for the whole entire state. We've got the Pennsylvania League of Cities and Towns. Their equivalent organization that's called the Pennsylvania Municipal Council had us out several months ago and keynoted to them. I mean, people are picking it up. We've got County Commission in Nevada that had, I think, a 2-hour presentation I made to them a few months ago. And they're doing a monthly lunch and learn about this because they see how this applies to their work as the County Commission and the county offices. So it's really encouraging.
Well, this is another thing that I like about the county health department example is so great because that brings it home to the kitchen table, literally. That's what I really like about how you, Tim Shriver, everyone involved with the Dignity Index. When I've seen Tim on cable news networks talking about this, it's another critique, I think, of civility movements or disagree better or all these things is sometimes it's hard for people to connect that to real world negatives. You say, I don't care if a bunch of politicians are screaming at each other on C-SPAN. Who cares? But you're talking about a situation that the argument being made here is this devolution in how we talk to each other, think about each other, and interact is increasing violence. It's decreasing problem solving. Mm-hmm. It's definitely creating divisions. We see it in our politics most clearly, but you see it in sports sometimes, where you have two different fans of two different teams who should be having fun because that's what it's about, and they hate. They're acting like they hate each other. This really does have ramifications all the way down to our personal lives, and these 8 scoring points on the Dignity Index. I don't want to say it's easy. It's simple. When you think about it, it's like easy. That is so simple, but it's so difficult.
Yeah. And it becomes a little more difficult when you start seeing yourself in these points. It's a little painful.
Yeah.
And we talk about it in our group. Tim Shriver, you mentioned Tim, and Tom Rossert, another colleague, and we'll have little staff meetings. And someone will say something, and we call each other on. It's like, I think that was a 3, Tami. Do you want to restate that? And it's like,
it's very difficult to employ.
But knowing that, we do much better. And the funny thing is when you reframe your statement to stay on the dignity side of the scale, which is the 5 through 8, when I consciously reframe my statement, it opens my mind to solving problems. Because I'm on purpose now trying to have more dignity, which means I can't help but have a more open mind.
Sure.
And that's why we say this, it helps solve problems.
That's, a trivial example, but something I run into a lot on social media, specifically regarding the legislature. I have just enough of a platform that I can have. They're not scared of me or anything like that, but they'll have a conversation with me because they know, I do a radio show, and what I've noticed is that if in a situation where you're quote unquote trying to win a debate or trying to prove someone wrong, you feel like someone is very wrong, and this is a person in power about to vote on a piece of legislation. So the one that has been amazing to watch, be curious, not furious. Mm-hmm. This is one of the tips of the Dignity Index. Asking questions in a nice, okay, how did you come to that conclusion? Where might I see this information? When they have proven themselves wrong for me.
Yeah.
As we've had that conversation, I haven't said a word. I haven't been critical. I haven't. But as we've had that conversation, as they've answered my sincere questions, they eventually get to the point where they'll literally be saying to me, okay, I haven't read as much about this one as I probably should have.
Yeah.
And that's been an amazing experience to watch because I can see how citizens could influence their lawmakers. But what normally happens is someone sees a bill they don't like or a vote they don't like, and they fire off an angry email. You suck. Why are you in office? That
thinking
kind of thing.
that's going to win the day.
Yeah, and it has
that's
no
the problem.
effect.
It has zero effect. And part of Irshad Manji's comments and Governor Cox's comments today were both, that's not how you persuade people.
Yeah.
That's not how you win an argument. And too often we're trying to win an argument instead of solving a problem.
Sure.
So we have, if we can get out of that mode, and one of the things that they both talked about, both Governor Cox and Irshad, was asking people to tell you more. And we actually, I'm going to give you one of these cards,
That's
Jason.
amazing.
If people go to our website, dignityindex.us, there's a resource page, and we came up with these dignity phrases. And these we brainstormed together with some people that had come to a workshop about what to say when things start to get a little heated, or you start to get in an argument. What can you say instead?
This is the one I use right here.
Which one?
Can you tell me what I'm not getting?
Yes, can you tell me
That's
what I'm not getting?
That's the one I use, and it works.
Yeah, because the other person has to think about it, right?
Yeah.
They have to think about what you're not getting, and maybe they're not getting it.
Yeah.
So some of these, can you tell me more about that? This one, I love this one. This one came from Dr. Donna Hicks, who wrote the book Dignity, that's where we base our work on is her dignity research. And she said, sometimes I say, if someone says something that is just so contrary to what I think, instead of saying, oh my gosh, are you kidding me? She says, wow, I think just the opposite. Can you tell me how you came to that view?
Yeah.
Sometimes people are afraid to say, tell me more, because they think they're giving in. They think if I say, can you tell me more, that now I'm giving in and I'm agreeing with you. So she puts it right out there. I think just the opposite. Tell me how you came to that.
That's a fascinating one, because I've also learned through that one that you can learn and respect how someone came to a conclusion. You still think the conclusion's wrong. And you still, if it's a person in power, that might still irritate you because they're going to get to vote on bills and things like that. But you can understand, okay, here's why they came to that conclusion that's different than mine. And it elevates your respect for them.
Well, it's typically life experiences that are different than yours that have led them to that path or that conclusion.
And then it makes you think maybe I shouldn't be so absolute in my own positions on these things.
A couple of the other ones that are on this card that you'll find on the website. Let's figure out what we disagree on. It can't be everything.
I like that.
This one I like because honestly, Jason, there are sometimes I don't want you to tell me more about it. I have heard your side so many weeks and years and months. So this is the one I pull out for those conversations. I say, how do you think we fix it?
That's a great
You and I have
question.
talked about this a lot. Tell me how we fix it.
That's a
very different answer that you're going to get than the same old, points that you've debated about for months. This is another one that's fascinating. I need to think about that. And then this one was from my colleague Tom. He said, thanks for talking with me. A lot of folks won't talk to people they disagree with.
Yeah.
And the last one, if we talk long enough, we're going to find out we share some values. And anyway, these are just some quick things to pull out when you're starting to get in a tense conversation. But sometimes you just want to learn more. You just want to learn how to listen better. And these are some lines that you can use to listen better.
I always, a personal experience of mine, I remember meeting Paul Merrill for the first time when he was president of the Sutherland Institute.
Remember.
And our first exchange, I called him a bigot. And he said, do not call me a bigot. And I said, stop acting like a bigot. And we got into it. And this was at a dinner event, of all things. And that was our very first exchange. And he and I are friends to this day. Yeah. But it's because we were forced by elements outside of us. I don't think either one of us would have chosen to keep interacting after that first experience. We were forced to. We worked together on some transparency bills and things like that. And he and I learned to really respect each other. And again, still friends to this day. I got a text from him just a few days ago. He's in another state now doing something else. But that was the big eye-opening moment for me because I realized, here's this person. He and I have nothing in common politically at all. I don't think we agree on a single thing other than maybe immigration policy and certain politicians. But he and I really respect where he's coming from. And here's my point, I guess. The Dignity Index allowed me to understand why the affinity I felt for Paul, despite feeling he's so wrong about so many things, and he feeling that way about me. He's authentic, and he respects the fact that others might not agree with him all the time. And he would use a lot of this. I mean, he would fail too, but he would say things like, "How do we fix that?" Mm-hmm. And so it really applied. It works.
Well, and let me just underscore: we all fail on this. It's the
Sure.
quote. I wish I had it ready to go for you. The man in the arena, where you've come up short again and again, but you stick with it, right? You keep trying. And the last thing I want to say about this is, we have this shorthand on dignity and contempt. What does it mean? Contempt means I see myself above you.
Okay.
Dignity is I see myself in you. You drop all of the other issues, drop them to the side. And when you start saying or thinking, I see myself above you, I'm better than you, you're on the contempt side of the scale. And we have language on the Dignity Index can show you what that looks like. And when you start saying, I see myself in you, whatever the the policy or the disagreement might be, now you're showing dignity. There is some part of you and Paul Merrill, there is some part of you that is a part of me. I see myself in you. And so that's something that I try to remember when I start feeling, this anxiety, or I start to get angry or something. It's like, I'm not better than anyone else.
Sure.
We are all, my religious language, we're all brothers and sisters. There's a spark of divinity in every one of us. And our job is to find it.
Tammy, this is a really fun conversation, but more importantly, I think what you guys are doing with the Dignity Index is really important, and I hope everyone will take a moment to visit the website, dignityindex.us. I've linked to it on our Facebook page. Tammy's given me some of their sort of cheat sheets, if you will, and I'm going to hang them here in the studio. But this is really useful stuff, whether it's workplace, your personal life, politics, sports, it doesn't matter. Connecting this to some of the degradation we see around us, increases in violence, division, a decrease in problem solving. All of this is connected to a lack of dignity, or as you say, contempt for one another. Axios with a profile on the Dignity Index coming tonight.
Check it out tomorrow, and we're going to have some more national activities that everyone can take part in. So
that is very cool. You can find them on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Just Dignity Index, their handle on all of the social media platforms. DignityIndex.us, again, is the website. Tami Pyfer has been our guest. Thank you to Tami. Thanks to our listeners.